First of all, because they jump. And when they jump, the space is scared. They don't jump, it's alone. Sure, go, commit. They don't commit, why do you have to commit? Because they jump. He stays the ball. When the ball is here, guys, when we are in that position, we pass. What is the space? He's scaring. When the ball is here, he's the lead. Nico, Vini, Dino, Gundo, you pass the ball.
I'm just going to play it again for you to see the video.
And when they jump, the space is scared. They don't jump, it's alone. Sure, go, commit. They don't commit, why do you have to commit? Because they jump. He stays the ball. When the ball is here, guys, when we are in that position, we pass. What is the space? He's scaring. When the ball is here, he's the lead.
Is that when he's at Barcelona?
No, he said this is City. That's why he's speaking English. That's why he's speaking English to these guys. I learned the English language. It's easy. I learned German. It is easy. All right. That's staying in, but welcome back to Hoefelhohman FC. This is episode 11, part 2 of Pep Confidential, the inside story of Pep Guardiola's first season at Bayern Munich, written by Martí Perarnau. One of those two. Or neither. But if you just MartiPerarnau. And we have his second book about City, which we may cover next, but focused on this book.
I'm kind of feeling covering that next after this one, to be fair.
A lot of details in this book, and we find out...
Oh, it's juicy.
We find out how one season can have a huge book. But
yeah, we'll get to that.
We did chapters 1 through 4, part 1. If you're hearing this now, I haven't released one yet. Life kind of got away from me. But when you hear part 1 of this book, and when you hear this now, and whenever that is, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you want to hear more. This is a podcast where Nick and I'm Nathan Hoefel, this is Nick Hohman, that's why it's called Hoefelhohman. We go through soccer books, we talk about soccer, sometimes we divulge into little rabbit holes about things that relate in the book to our experiences, or we go on a tangent on just the soccer we watched during the week and what's going on in the professional world, if any. So we can get off topic, but the topic will always be football. Welcome back, Nick.
I'm ready to dive into this book, man. It's got me writing notes. It's got me reading in the late hours of the night. Early mornings of each day. In little bits, though. I'm a busy guy. It's hard to really just go chapter by chapter,
right.
Even though they are relatively shorter chapters than before, which is actually creating a nice pace of things.
Chapter 5 is called "I'm Desperate to Watch Training. I Want to See What Pep Decides to Change." This is June 26th of 2013. So nothing's really happened yet, but he has taken over management of Bayern Munich. He is given the keys to the kingdom that is already built. His objectives were straightforward. Do well in the German Super Cup and begin the Bundesliga in good shape. His proposals, written in both German and Catalan, included organizing preseason training in Italy. Everyone was delighted with the idea, which for Pep would be a real treat after a grueling preseason tours of Asia and North America he had endured at Barca. Buenaventura is also pleased. In his first 45 days in Munich, Bayern's new head fitness coach will have a coordinate 13 matches, 10 friendlies, and 3 official games, as well as 45 training slots, of which 12 will be double sessions in the morning and evening. An agenda of this kind would have been impossible at Barcelona. So for somebody coming in to change everything, he's going to be given ample time to hit the training ground to do so.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of what a coach really likes to do, is have some sort of stride even before the season starts, whether that's 2 games or this schedule.
Right. That was the one thing I found difficult, trying to have a vision to change the system, only having 2 to 3 nights top a week to implement it. And then you see weaknesses you need to work on. Do we work on the weaknesses, or do we keep working on the overall vision? Are we trying to prepare a certain way for the game this weekend?
When you're
limited
coaching,
time.
Yeah, when you're coaching older kids or, older teams, like it's only going to be about preparing for the weekend because you want to do well against someone.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're Pep and writing a whole new language of football for a team that doesn't even know what a rondo is, it's just like, we need some time.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in the beginning of the book. I think what did it say? Part 1. Time, patience, passion. We need patience, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. We need passion, Matthias Sammer. We need time, Pep Guardiola.
Well, Pep has some time. At Bayern, the training and matches combined mean that the players will complete 60 sessions in only 7 weeks. By the standards of modern clubs, it is an absolute luxury. And Bonaventura has a permanent grin on his face. He does not speak German, just English, but has no problem at all communicating with his new colleagues. Bonaventura was trained by Paco Cirillo. Although originally from an athletics background, Cirillo became a brand name in the fitness training of footballers and professionals from other team sports. He used his own methods when he worked with Johan Cruyff's dream team and spent 25 successful years keeping Barca players fit and healthy. So he is trained from a Barca legend.
This is a guy who knows what he's doing. I wrote his name down like alone in my notebook because it was just, I wanted to write more under his name, but then like never did the research online to see like what, like where he's from or like all that stuff. So I have yet to do that, and he just sounds like a guy who knows what he's talking about and knows what he's doing.
Yep. What they do, or what he implements, is a structured microcycle approach, which involves short training cycles over 3 to 5 days, focused on one area. It might be strength, resistance, elastic strength, or explosive force, depending on the player and the particular stage of the season. Training sessions simulate the technical and tactical aspects of the next game, and the ball is always used. In other words, the players train in the same way they play. Pep Guardiola and Bonaventura agree the day's tactical and technical objectives. This then becomes the focus of the session. One day it might be bringing the ball out from the back, and the next they'll work on pressing the opposition from the point on which the ball is lost, and so on. So these two guys work hand in hand, one more on the tactical side, but they combine the tactical with the physical, which I thought was an important aspect. I know you see a lot of videos from Jurgen Klopp teams, and they're all going on the however many mile bike ride together. So there's
like team building,
physical exercises. I know the physical demands of a Jurgen Klopp team are pretty high. Not saying they don't ever use the ball, but for this style play, you're going to want to have the ball at your feet at all times. In the event, the day holds a few surprises for Rummenigge, Sammer, and, of course, the players. There is no jogging, no long sprints, no weightlifting. They do not do any circuit training, and there is no single exercise that focuses on athleticism. In fact, all that awaits the players as they arrive is a mountain of footballs, which is not what they're used to.
No.
So there's a growing process of not going through this, especially if you're a seasoned professional, and if you're a veteran, you probably have like a routine by now of like what you know you need to do to get ready for the season.
Right.
Now I'm not doing that. I'm doing this. I already know how to juggle the ball. I already have a nice touch. So what are we doing? That doesn't really play too much of a factor, but I know even if you're open to it, change is still difficult. You still have to learn. Out on the grass of the stadium's training ground, the new arrivals meet the veteran technical staff who have remained with the club since Heineck's departure. Herman Gerland, who along with Dominic Torrent will be Pep's assistant coaches, is here along with Tony Taplovic, who has been the goalkeeping coach since he arrived with Manuel Neuer in 2011. Andreas Kornmeier and Thomas Wilhelmi, the fitness coaches who will work with Benefator, are also ready to start the day. So the Avengers have assembled. These are all the people. So that's why I try to read everybody's name, that are the assistant coaches, the keeper coaches, the athletic trainers. Everybody has arrived. It's time to get started. And it is open to fans. And they 7,000 people stream toward the stadium. All of them more than happy to hand over €5 to aid the flood victims, which we kind of talked about last time. And apparently it's happening now. It's just Bavaria gets a lot of rain, apparently.
Yeah, a lot of parts of Germany do. Crazily enough, like before, like a few months before I flew over there for my year there was flooding near the area I was going to be staying in, but it wasn't close enough.
Okay.
It wasn't the actual area of Bochum, but I was like, am I going to be flying into a flooded town? But no, it wasn't. It was just kind of scary because the flooding was bad enough that people needed to be like going in and rescuing people.
Okay, yeah.
And this kind of funding is no joke. Like, people definitely need this to kind of recover because they basically lost everything to water.
Now I want to get your perspective on this next bit at the bottom of the 30, since it's this is a German cultural thing. As the fans, these are about the fans.
Oh yeah.
In the normal course of events, the citizens of Munich prefer to travel in silence. Travelers are to be found reading or typing into their mobile phones, but telephone conversations are rare, a phenomenon which can catch the rather more expansive Mediterranean visitor unawares. The only exception to this rule is the very occasional whispered conversation. On match days, however, all of this changes. The silence is shattered by jubilant roars of fans pouring into the carriages, usually cheek by jowl with their rivals. Together they turn the journey into a chanting competition. So I was curious if that was a Munich thing, or is your experience with public transportation kind of, was it silent if you had any?
No, a lot of the time in my experience, people want to travel on the trains, whether it's local trains or it's just part of having a respect of who else is riding the bus or the train with you. People like to have a quiet ride to somewhere wherever they're going. But a lot of younger people, if they're with a group of friends, they'll be pretty chatty. Or if it's a group of students, they'll have some conversation. But other than that, most of the people like to just travel, get where they're going, and then just it is overall pretty traveling is pretty quiet in public transportation. But dude, match days totally different. Just like the book says, people are singing the songs on the way to the game, on the way to the pub. It's match day, not just because of the colors of people's clothes, but they're loud, where they're going, what day it is. And it is pretty much black and white, just like it says.
Okay, awesome.
It's a fun time.
That's crazy, because that's just completely polar opposite. Because I feel that in my personality, which may come from my Germanness, I'm man, if I could live in this society where we all want a quiet ride, I totally get that. I feel that in my bones, but I wouldn't be so opposed to game day being just a little bit different. I don't want that. That doesn't need to be my life the whole time.
No.
So that's really cool. So today things are a little different. This is the first chance to see Pep. He is here at last, and whole families have come along to celebrate. there is a festive atmosphere on the long trek to the Allianz Arena. Pep decides not to share the season's objectives with the players today. He will save this crucial information until the whole squad is together. Several key personnel are still absent for one reason or another. Javi Martinez, Dante, Luis Gustavo will not be here until July 15th. Arjen Robben, David Alaba, Mario Mandzukic, Shaqiri, the square, the cube, I mean. Daniel Van Buiten and Claudio Pizarro are due to join the team in Italy in 7 days' time with Mario Götze. A familiar name if you've listened to the past episodes. Bastian Schweinsteiger and Holger Bastuber are nursing injuries, which in Bastuber's case will plague him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I remember that thing.
It has been 398 days since Pep last ran a training session, and he is itching to get back to work in his natural habitat, the football pitch.
Yeah. The next paragraph is completely amazing. Just because of how simple he is with it. Just, I guess I'll read it.
Yeah, man.
At exactly 1 minute to 5, he trots out onto the grass with about 20 players following him. Many of them are youth team players. They gather around him, and he keeps his instructions short and to the point. I need just one thing from you. Keep running. I don't mind if you miss a pass or mess up a move. Just keep running. If you stop, that's it. Kaput. You're out. Training has started. And just how that ties into Pep's philosophy is just so correct.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just... Like, later on in Manchester City, like, he would always say, like, I don't care if you make mistakes, just keep going. Like, and it's true even in this book, just like how his mentality and his philosophy and through his methodology of just coaching teams maybe it just stems so much from that originality in Barcelona. Just like he needs players to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you see it happen in like youth soccer sometimes, or even like when we're playing recreationally, like when players make mistakes, they tend to hesitate and be like, oh man, I messed up.
Right.
But then there's a moment of like no movement, and then it's just, then that movement is a huge detriment to the rest of the team because that's one less player moving.
Dude, I watched the Liverpool Brighton game
Today?
Brighton? No, who we just Aston Villa.
Oh yeah.
It was a tense game, 1-0 for a good bit of it until Salah got the killer in like the 80th minute. But like Villa were in it, dangerous, making chances.
Okay.
But the amount of times that like they were on the counter and somebody, you know, because they're on the counter just from a little bit of sloppiness, we gave the ball away or whatever.
Yep.
Whether it was Luis Diaz sprinting the length of the pitch to put a challenge into the box,
Yeah.
or Gravenberch making a last-ditch challenge to stop a shot. Dude, it was all game long where it's like Villa they were due the respect for how they were playing. Like, I wasn't sure. I was nervous, but like there was one consistent. It was they did not stop running.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to see. And I know Arne Slot takes a little bit more out from Pep's book than other managers. So
I believe that.
the defensive display was really encouraging and awesome to see. Just the running didn't stop. And then it was just on to the net. Okay, we got that challenge in. Now it's time to keep the ball again.
Yeah, the Premier League is at that point where like you don't run and you give another player on the other team a chance to do something, that will be a goal.
Yeah.
Like, it's that close.
You literally just I forgot who the winger was, but he's taking on Robinson and then he's cutting into the box, and then you can just see it in the frame, like Luis Diaz just he's a ways off, man, but he just keeps on running, and the way that Robinson forces the winger in, he just comes across and just takes the ball off him. Just a full sprint. I don't think anybody told him that he was coming. It was just beautiful.
That hustle, man.
Yeah, that dude bleeds for his club, and it's evident on the pitch.
Good to have him.
Yeah. But in fact, yes, practice has started. So now, even in the book, now it seems, I don't know how all the chapters are going to go, but now it's football time. So the champions are doing Pep's practice. The champions of Europe. But they appear a little slow and clumsy as they struggle through the exercise. Pep scratches his head. I think he does that a lot.
He does.
I just started noticing it now that after I read that as I was watching him and some of the highlights of the past City games. Apparently his players have come here expecting athletic training, and here they are kicking the ball about. The lower sections of the stands are packed but quiet. On match days, the faithful flock to their footballing cathedrals ready to sing and sing themselves hoarse. But right now they have come to watch training, and a respectful silence is the order of the day. Up until now, the focus has been on general ball work, but the next exercise is more specific. This time it is about resistance work, which they do in 3 lines. Pep and Buenaventura have to keep correcting the players who are struggling to understand. They use youth team members to demonstrate again and again. Pep is worried. He is still scratching his head. Now, I know this is the author's interpretation of seeing what's going on. I don't know if he was genuinely worried. I don't know what you would want to expect from your first day.
Well, I mean, I think that's just some symbolism just for how, like, Pep is like, okay, like, we need more time. Like, we need to keep working on this. Like, it's like that oh boy moment. Like, they don't understand this, but, like, he goes into that knowing it. It's just another thing, seeing it, the absence of the culture that he's trying to implement, and it's just it's probably a little worrying, but I mean, boy, do they get it. Like, they do.
So Buenaventura explains what they're doing. The players work in an area 70 meters long. They run the first leg slowly, practicing 3 different tactical exercises. Then they sprint back. It takes about 6 minutes to complete both legs, and they will actually be covering about 4 kilometers in the 150-meter space. It involves resistance exercises, but also requires them to work cooperatively. The idea is that they'll then transfer these skills to their game. Each exercise incorporates an aspect of Pep's footballing philosophy. One is looking for the third man move, the second 2v1 exercises, and the third is a passing drill. So there they are. They're combining the physical, but also everything we do physically is going to be geared towards our overall objective of how we're going to play every single game till the end of time, until you're not under me anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty intense, or I mean, it's very geared to what the philosophy Pep is trying to do here. It's pretty cool, actually, just how different the exercises are individually, but when you add them up, it reflects what he just wants to see them do on the pitch.
You got, as mentioned before, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Bestüber, Gotze. These guys are all nursing
And they're all
injuries.
there watching.
They're there watching, but kind of not sure how it's going to work out. It's taking longer than expected to recover, and that causes Guardiola to scratch his head once more. I just wanted to highlight all 3 times that he noted that. Now there are 4 rounds of positioning games, lasting 4 minutes each. These exercises in holding possession are vital parts of Pep's arsenal. 4 players form a rectangle, 4 more position themselves within it, and there are 3 wild cards. The ball circulates with the first touch, and the coach shouts from time to time, is it Druck?
Druck.
Druck. Press.
Yeah.
Which is a big part of Pep Guardiola's system, is pressing. Pressing as a team, but also they don't want to lose the ball. To begin with, it's a little bit of the opposite. We want to get the ball back so we don't lose it, Jurgen
Right.
Klopp says, I'm happy we lost
Yeah,
it, so we can win it back.
I was just reflecting on that the first time reading it through, just how, I mean, that's why it's so different. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit to where Pep singles out a few players like during the drill that he individually talks to.
Yeah.
And the first one is Toni Kroos, and he shows him that it is not enough to pass the ball. It must be done anticipating the next move so that he can then position himself correctly. It is vital to offer immediate support at the new base of a triangle of players so that the ball movement can continue without slowing down and so that the team can both dominate and control the play. That way his teammates will have more options. It is all about passing and then making yourself available. Sometimes that means moving at others, staying put. Effective passing is about thinking one step ahead of everyone else. Kroos seems to grasp the point easily and starts to apply the advice as he carries out the exercises. That whole paragraph or chunk of paragraph right there was just so informational about how the play works. Just in those instructions, I mean, when you read it, it just makes a whole lot of, for me, it makes a lot of sense because like that's what I look for every time I play. And not saying that I'm a genius or anything. It's just like we started watching football around the time Pep is coming into this kind of stuff.
Right.
And then you start seeing it on TV, and then you start seeing it in FIFA sometimes. And then just over the years, it's become kind of like just a football like mental thing in my head. And then when it doesn't happen, I'm just like, when we're playing like indoor seasons or something, it's just like, man, like if only we all had the same collective idea of what we were doing, this whole chunk of paragraph would be showing itself out on normal pitches. I love that paragraph.
It's also just a great example of coaching. You got to get individual with people. You can't just yell at a collective group of people over and over again. Just help everybody see what you're trying to teach, and you got to meet them where they're at and their specific positions. I even have the next one too. So it's Boateng's turn. The coach sees him as a real talent who just needs a little bit of guidance. As the season progresses, Pep's attention to Boateng will reach almost obsessional levels as he works to eradicate the player's weak points. 3 weak points. Pep will ask him to work on holding his position in the defensive line, defending with power, and avoiding losses in concentration.
Which is, that concentration part is something that we touched on before.
Right.
What Pep thinks is starting to be maybe a more huge, like important variable as opposed to some other things within players that he wants on his team. Players that have a longer concentration of what's going on.
And I couldn't help but highlighting this too as a defender. This is how the defense is being worked on.
Yeah.
From day one, Pep moves the defensive line several meters higher up the pitch than the team is used to. The objective is better marking and anticipation of opponents' forwards, plus a faster, bolder, and more aggressive defense. He wants his defenders playing much further forward than Boateng's input could be crucial. And Boateng's input could be crucial whenever Javi Martinez is missing. Training is over for the day. 80 minutes of short, intense exercises which have allowed players to work on various tactical aspects of the game. And another player, the last one he pulls aside, is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And he's 17, and if you follow football today, he's now playing at Marseille, however you say it, the French club.
Marseille, yeah.
On loan from Tottenham at the moment.
Wow.
But he was definitely one of the brighter midfielders, I thought, for Tottenham. But apparently fell a little bit out of favor. But yeah, he never really. I mean, I guess I got to research. I don't know how pivotal he had ever become for Bayern. I don't know if you know.
I don't remember him being really around, but he could have just been on the bench at that point of my attention to them in this year of 2013. I do recognize the name. I just never really thought I saw him play.
He was at Tottenham for 4 years. Oh, he played at... Okay, so he was at Southampton 4 years prior to that. Played a season at Schalke. So in 2013, he was... from there on, he was up and down from the first team to the second team.
Oh, okay.
2015, he played 13 caps for the first team. Loaned out to Augsburg. Back to Bayern Munich. Then I think he was loaned out to Schalke. Yeah, so he never... The diamond in the rough never
Came
fully
through.
formed.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to pause it. Where were we? The training is done for the day. Pep's had a talk with all the players. Yeah, we're on.
Oh, okay.
Pep's had a talk with all the players he wanted to single out. Not in a bad way, just wanted to have specific instructions for you. Things we need to work on.
Well, even more interestingly, with Ribery, he wanted to play him as a center. As a false nine.
Well, you win a bunch of games with a technical player there, and you think everybody can be Messi, I guess. It's easy when you go, I have an idea, I'll put Messi there, and it works. And then you're like, that was a good idea. It wasn't that it was Messi, it's that I had a good idea. Not to... Pep is an amazing coach. I'm not downplaying it.
This guy's an idiot.
Maybe it gives you a little false sense of, like, oh, that worked with Messi. Maybe it could work.
With
it's one thing if
technical player.
It's one thing if you did it first with a Ribery and then go like, oh, well, we can for sure put Messi here. But it's like, okay, will it work with somebody lesser than Messi?
Right. He does just try it out because it is pre-season, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, hasn't coached in a year, and what's the last thing that he did that he had success with? So we're trying to implement it. So it's not a bad idea. I'm not trying to say that. But Pep asked Ribery if he would be comfortable playing in central attack. Ribery does not understand. The Catalan coach has become accustomed to Leo Messi playing in the false nine position. A striker who does not only prowl the penalty box, but also plays much deeper, and who improvises when to arrive around the edges of the attack. One who attacks the zones in which the opposition centers halves work, but without them being able to patrol him. For Guardiola, the ideal striker doesn't work permanently in the box. Instead, he arrives there at the culmination of a collectively constructed attack.
Like a wizard.
But as you have witnessed, Pep had to adapt, and he went back to having a classic center forward, and he bought Haaland, and they fed that guy the ball, and he scored goals by, I'm going to be in the box. But he also can run in behind in a quick transition. That was also one of his strengths, and having space to run onto the center backs. But not really.
He doesn't do much anymore at City.
Yeah, but he's not really doing the false nine work. He still can link up. He's not a novice player. But definitely not doing what Messi or what he would have in mind for Ribery here. So as the day draws to a close, Bonaventura is the last to leave. For the rest of the season, he will make it his business to arrive first and leave last, and the sight of him strolling from the pitch as the lights go out will become a familiar one here at the Sabener Strasse. Interesting that it's one of the coaches that is first to be there and first to leave. Normally you hear that about, at least in my experience of listening to NFL analysts talk, it's normally a quarterback or some captain of the team that's first in, first out. But that's the first day at Bayern Munich. Pep is no longer, even though he was already hired, but now it's 100%. He is not retired anymore or on a sabbatical. It is over. He's back.
The football is in his veins.
Yeah,
once
now it is time to only have 30 minutes of not thinking about soccer all the time.
The 32-minute law.
Chapter 6. Leo, it's Pep. Can you come over now, please? June 29th, 2013. It is going to be an easy game. Every season, Bayern play a fantasy football fixture known locally as a Traumspiel?
Traumspiel, dream play.
Against one of the 3,600 supporters clubs in the country. Today, the honor has fallen to Weiden Bayern. It is a huge event for the 41,684 inhabitants. That's literally less than what you can fit at the Allianz Arena, right?
Yeah.
And around 11,000, more than a quarter of them, have turned out. It is going to be one big party. So, we all know how this game's going to go, but, it's a good opportunity for everybody.
It's an annual thing. It always happens. You always see Bayern play this, lower league team and just completely thwart them.
Mm-hmm. So in a little snippet into Pep's brain of what's going on here, his first decision upon arriving at the club was to dispense with the system that was there, which is the whole thing, part of the phases, even though it resulted in a treble. This is the next phase of having a philosophy now, so we have to throw it out even if it was good. During his own playing days, Guardiola played as the sole holding midfielder, positioning himself in front of the defenders and organizing the team from there. The position is known at Barca as the number 4. The Argentines call it a 5, and the Germans a 6. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
I just thought it was a 6, so I guess
right.
That's how I always hear it. So in the U.S., that's what it's called, I guess, too. In Spain, the position tends to be called the mediocentro. It's the player who takes the ball directly from the defenders or the keeper and, with the whole of the pitch open in front of him, elects how his team plays restart. He's also the guy charged with cutting out the opposition's final pass. The one who can avoid the back four paying the consequence of the unstoppable counterattack. His defensive qualities are essential, which to me might foreshadow Toni Kroos not being the guy. I don't know for sure, but I'm not saying he can't do anything, but I know
he wasn't as defensive.
Yeah, I think the breaking up of play may not have been his strong suit, but
no, it was way more making the play.
But I don't know, because I don't know how it comes about that he goes to Real Madrid. But even if he's not the 6, what's stopping him from being in front of the 6? Because he's still an amazing midfielder.
I guess he probably has other players that he wants.
Yeah,
instead.
but I'm curious to see. I don't even know if that happens in the first season. So he might.
I feel like at the end of it does.
He leaves after Pep's first year.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
We shall find out. But I am curious. If we don't find out this book, I will research that. Guardiola isn't getting a game, but he is the best of the young. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. This is a flashback because it's talking about why he's changing the system, but this system is all based on how Guardiola has played.
You're still on 37?
Yeah, still on 37. So this is back to now Guardiola as a player, getting a snippet to why Bayern's system is being thrown out, this system is being implemented, and where this system kind of came from. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it was at the club, but the reason you've already been hearing that I'm looking for the guy who's going to play in the 6 by himself is pivotal because this is where Pep's brain operates.
That's why they call it the pivot.
Yeah, this all because this is the ultimate of where his brain's going when he thinks about the system because he played this part of that system. Guardiola isn't getting a game, but he's the best of the youngsters. This is Riach. It's spelled R-E-X-A-C-H. One of the coaches that's coaching Pep told his boss. Sure enough, Pep, who was already a natural in attack and would quickly evolve into a gifted playmaker, was soon playing for the first team. On joining, Guardiola was given the number 4 shirt, little knowing that he was about to define that position, that number, at Barca. Cruyff saw him as a crucial part of the dream team, whose mesmerizing football would sow the seeds of Barca's ascendancy for decades to come. Now, as a young player, Guardiola was already forming the football philosophy he would later implement so successfully as a coach. High-speed, attacking football as the best form of defense. Effective passing and ball control, and as little hard tackling as possible. Definitely opposite of what we were reading about with heavy metal football. Lots of big challenges, and we celebrate big challenges, and we win the ball back again, and it's great.
We like to do it.
We like to do it. Do you think I would have lasted 11 years at Barca if all they were looking for was speed, strength, and the ability to score goals? In the 385 games he played for Barcelona, Pep scored just 13 goals.
Which is incredible.
But if you're playing 385 games for Barca, that means you're doing something right.
For sure. As a 6, 13 goals is a small number within that 385, but Pep had done well to help the teams score more goals and to win.
I'm going to do a live count here of Busquets' goals during his Barcelona career.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
3, 4, 5. So the single counting here was just because there was only one that season. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's a 0 there. Another 0 in 2 seasons. No goals. 13. He's tied on Pep. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 goals. I think he played more games than him. Yeah. But
even
oh my gosh. 385 games. He scored 13 goals. Busquets played 713 games and he scored 18 goals. But there's a reason you're playing 700 plus games, because we don't need you to score goals. You're orchestrating the way we play.
Yeah, it's
and you will get no thanks for it.
Yeah,
no thanks from the world.
Hero.
I know the locker room must love it. You love that guy.
Yeah.
So
there needs to be a big appreciation.
So that's why I thought it was cool that Rodri won the Ballon d'Or, because it's just I love when the thankless jobs even almost win it, but I was surprised that he did win it since he didn't play the fullness of the Euros. He got hurt, but that treble-winning City year, he was instrumental, and now City are struggling without him. Pep lost his man again. He doesn't have his guy at the 6 right now.
Not yet.
If I had a line of 5 rivals in front of me, as usual, they'd want to make sure that we would only circulate the ball in a U-like circular movement in front of them, searching from wing to wing for space via the midfield, but never getting any depth or creating any danger. This line of 5 midfielders would inevitably be tightly pegged to the 4 defenders behind them. There would be no space between the lines. These 2 compact lines of opposition obliged me to use space wide in order to avoid danger. I'd use 2 wingers, making themselves available on each touchline and capable of going deep when it was the right time. The other attackers needed to move between the 2 lines. To achieve that, I had to lead the line of 5 astray. Move it about, shake it up, introduce disorder, trick it into thinking that I was about to go wide again, and boom, split them with an inside pass to one of the strikers, and that's that. They are turned inside out, suddenly having to run toward their own goal. Basically, that's how I separated my team from others during my career. So you lull them into that sense of sleep of right to left, left to right, right to left.
Forget about the striker.
And then when that
behind
10th time that you're about to cycle it out to the wing again, you play it inside.
It's a different ball.
It's a different ball. But that's why,
It's one of my favorite plays to watch, though. It's just like this deep cutting pass through like 10 players to this one guy who just makes this diagonal run through those two lines and just picks it up. It's so wonderful to watch.
Yeah, Liverpool's game isn't so based on a 6 because they play the double pivot. But I've been seeing the center backs. There's a lot of patient build-up, and once the center backs split the line, then Liverpool are off into the final third. But it's that patience back and forth, being real patient, and then the second you can get it between the lines, you've eliminated 4 or 5 guys. And now you've got them scrambling, and that's where a lot of chances are made. But that's just Pep breaking it down, how he used to play, and how he had success at Barca, and how he's continued to coach. His system slightly changing here and there, but the fundamentals of his philosophy don't change at all. Pep thinks that he may have just found the Busquets of Bayern. And this is about Højbjerg again, which we now know that doesn't fully work out. But he's 17, and a lot of people show bright sparks, and then you don't hear them again, which we'll hear of an American here soon when we get to it. That I was like, I forgot about this guy. In fact, Højbjerg is only one of the 23 to play at the full 90 minutes of this friendly. The game ends in a 15-1 victory, and as expected, their rivals have given them very few problems. So it's easy that he could do well in that also, but if you're not really getting pressed,
no,
you could probably put almost anybody there.
Right. I mean, it's a good chance to try players out in that position and then just see if things are clicking. And then it's just like, okay, maybe we have a new number 6 here, or maybe we have a new number 6 there. It's just Pep uses that very he does that very intelligently, just like this is a good chance just to figure out who it might be.
Right. And it kind of, he, as soon as it mentions Højbjerg, it's also now saying, even before taking over, and certainly from the very first training sessions, Pep's instincts have told him that Toni Kroos will be a vital part of the motor that drives his team. But do you remember Julian Green?
Now I do.
The American hope that was playing for Bayern Munich. Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich scored 4 goals in this friendly, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
he's been playing in Bundesliga 2 for the past 6 years, I found out.
Okay, what team?
I'd have to re-look it up, but I was like, is he even playing anymore?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's still playing in the second league is actually pretty great. Like, to have a good, successful football career, I mean, you don't need to be playing at the top level, I guess, but, like, as long as you're still healthy and playing in, like, at least in the top 3 leagues, like, that's pretty good still.
Greuther Fürth.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Still
Where
playing?
are they in the table?
That's a good question. I'll find out here real quick. They are in 13th.
Bummer. So not getting promoted anytime soon.
They finished 8th last season, so that's kind of
mid-table.
That's kind of where their bread and butter is.
Not bad. Well, on this page, it was interesting to see how they get into like different formations, but how 2 of the formations mean different things. Or they mean 2 different, like how one formation means something in one place and another formation
that was
is
interesting
different in another place. Like Pep's 4-3-3 in Spain would be a 4-1-4-1 to a German. So 2 distinct ways of presenting the same formation 4 defenders, an organizing midfielder, 2 attacking midfielders, 2 wingers, and at the point of it all, a striker. And I'm just like, yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think it really comes down to what the coach wants from those players. And I feel like Spain's 4-3-3 is a bit more like the numbers are supposed to mean, I don't know, like maybe they're supposed to mean like they're more possessive in a 4-3-3.
Mm-hmm.
But in a 4-1-4-1, it's more like direct and forward playing instead of like trying to keep the ball for too long. I don't know. I haven't dived into the in that far, but that's kind of where my mind is going when one culture sees it one way and another culture sees it a different way when it's the same formation, just different numbers there.
So here's where we get to the story of the chapter name, because I didn't know why it says, Leo, it's Pep. Can you come over now, please? I thought maybe it was
a little later.
I thought it was gonna be bashing the. Like maybe Pep got frustrated. It's like, can I have Messi? Can we buy Messi? No, that's not why the chapter was called that.
No, I see why he worded it that way though, to lead us on a little bit.
So he's trying to get Ribery to be this false 9, so it gives a background of like where the false 9 came from.
Mm-hmm.
The false 9 existed in football as far back as the days of Argentine Adolfo Pernera was playing for and leading Máquina de River Plate. And this is 1936 and 1945. Although the first player to really make it his own was the Hungarian Nádor Hadaguti. No idea.
Sure.
Known for his great exploits in the Hungarian national team of the 1950s, the Magical Magyars, players such as Alfredo De Stefano, Michael Laudrup, and Francesco Totti were all great exponents for the same position, but it had fallen out of fashion until May 2nd of 2009, when Pep Guardiola revived it. The venue was the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium, Barcelona against Real Madrid El Clásico. The two teams were battling it out for the Spanish title, the first of the 3 consecutive leagues won by Pep with Barca. The scene was set for the Catalan to unleash his secret weapon. 10 minutes into the game, the score was 0-0. Pep gave the nod to Messi and Samuel Eto'o. The two players had to swap positions. Eto'o, usually center forward, moving to the right wing, and Messi, a right winger, took up position in the center of the field, but playing deeper, more like an attacking midfielder than a striker. Christoph Metzelder and Fabio Cannavaro, the Madrid center backs, were lost. They had no idea how to counteract the change. So now I'm going to go into a little bit of a background of the background of how that happened.
Mm-hmm. It is pretty interesting too, like how it is just like pre-planned and so discreet.
But this also gives you
worked so well.
Yeah, it gives you a background of how like Pep's day to day as being our coach. It was the day before the match, Friday, May 1st, 2009. Guardiola has stayed at the stadium to study his opponents, which is just commonplace for him to do. The day before the game, he shuts himself in his office. But before every... Okay, actually, this is the quote from him. I'm going to read that part. Before every match, I lock myself in an office I've set up for myself. I sit down with pen and paper and watch 2 or 3 videos. I take lots of notes. That's when that flash of inspiration comes. The moment that makes sense of my profession. The instant I know for sure that I've got it. I know how to win the match. It only lasts for about a minute, maybe 80 seconds. But it's the moment that my job becomes truly meaningful to me. So this guy's just almost just writing, and then boom, inspiration, which is how a lot of creative types work.
Yeah.
Summoning the muse, as they call it. He's summoning the muse to find the holes in the opposition game. So Real Madrid are on a 17-game unbeaten run. It was 10 p.m. and Pep was alone in his office. Everyone else, including his assistants, had gone home. He sat in a dimly lit room, imagining Messi moving freely across the enormous empty space in the Bernabeu. Having shaken off the Madrid midfielders, he saw him face to face with Metzelder and Cannavaro, the two players frozen on the edge of the box, unsure whether or not to chase the Argentine. The image was crystal clear, and he picked up the phone. He wasn't calling his advisors or even Xavi, the brains of his team. Instead, Guardiola dialed Messi's number. Leo, it's Pep. I've just seen something important, really important. Why don't you come over now, please? At 10:30, there's a gentle knock at Pep's office door, and 21-year-old Leo Messi comes in. Just imagining, that's just so hilarious. The coach shows him the video, pausing it to point out the empty space. He wants his player to make that space his own. From now on, it will be the Messi zone. And apparently they've done this once before, so it wasn't just they knew what he was talking about when he gave him the idea. But he's only telling Messi right now. He's not telling anybody else, and he's slowly letting other people know. The minute Xavi or Iniesta break between the lines and give you the ball, I want you to head straight for Casillas' goal. It was a secret between the two. Nobody else would know about the plans until Pep explained it to Tito Villanova the following day in the team hotel. Just minutes before kickoff on May 2nd, Guardiola took Xavi and Iniesta to the side and told them. They're getting it just now. When you see Leo in the space between the lines down the middle, don't hesitate. Give him the ball, just like we did in Gijon. That day in May of 2009, this strategy worked perfectly, and Barca destroyed Real Madrid, winning by 6-2. Messi had become a false nine, and Pep was happy. From that day to this, Guardiola has stuck to this system. Today, it's the debut of his Munich false nine, Frank Ribery. That's where I ended chapter 6, because that's a new story about Messi that I didn't know. I knew he became a false nine, but I didn't know how, like the fact that it was just a crazy obsessed dude just studying film going, I know what to do against Real Madrid, and then it just works against everybody else, I guess, too.
Yeah, and maybe the book will talk about it, but like, what's everybody else's response to this tactic? You know, are they adapting, or are they just like, are the other coaches that play against Pep's Barcelona, are they thinking about what's happening, and are they changing things? I mean, I'm no encyclopedia about football, but, you know, if anybody knows, like, drop a comment about it, because we'd like to definitely bring it up again and just see how long it takes other teams to adjust, because even when we were talking about Jurgen Klopp and Bring the Noise, you know, it takes the Bundesliga a little while to really catch up with things, and how Jurgen Klopp was coaching the style with Borussia Dortmund, and how the style just changed the results for them, and how it affected the entire Bundesliga, which is why, like, almost the entire, not just Bavaria, but how almost the entire nation, when Pep came into Bayern, was like kind of grateful he was coming into it, because they knew that this guy is going to bring some ideas, and it's going to affect the entire league, and not just Bayern Munich. But just to touch back on one little piece on page 41, just with how Messi as the number 9 affects these two Real Madrid players. Whilst researching this book, I had the chance to meet Metzelder over dinner in Dusseldorf in November 2013. That astonishing day was still fresh in his memory. I think it was that day that Pep first used false number 9. He put Edo on the right and Messi in the center. Fabio Cannavaro and I looked at each other. What do we do now? Do we follow him to the midfield or stay deep? We didn't have a clue what to do, and it was impossible to catch him. And I had a little side note reading that, and it's just like, is that just like tactical common knowledge now to like know what to do as a center back when you see a false nine?
I don't know if it's commonplace, but I think it's changing something so drastically from what you're preparing to do.
Yeah.
And you have not discussed it.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it could kind of happen to anybody. It just happened to be a false nine for that. I think maybe teams are more prepared to face multiple systems.
For sure, yeah.
As they were in the past. But it also, I think, like I said, it has to do with the quality of player doing it. But when a team like that changes up something, especially as how systematic Barcelona play, you to find the answer in the moment, I think, is much more difficult. And it must be, because Cannavaro is arguably one of the best center backs to ever play the game.
Right.
He's a center back who's won the Ballon d'Or, won the World Cup.
And who was the coach for Real Madrid in this game? Do we remember?
That I don't remember. I mean, that could easily have been.
That wasn't
Ancelotti.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't know. He's had so many stints that.
It probably was.
This is 2009, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's coach now of Real Madrid.
He has returned.
No. He was just finishing up in Milan. And then had his first stint at Chelsea. He hadn't been a Real Madrid manager as of yet.
Okay. Who the heck was it? Was that Zidane?
No, it could have easily have been Mourinho.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right.
Nope, he got there in 2010.
Oh shit.
He was at Inter, so whoever he took over.
We just gotta look up Real Madrid 2009 coach now.
I want to know now. Real Madrid. They were on an unbeaten run.
Yeah, which is pretty good. It's gonna be somebody that we know, probably.
There we go. Just a list of managers. Pellegrini? Manuel Pellegrini coached at Real Madrid for a year.
Huh.
He was I only know him when he was at City. It was the first time I learned about him.
In 2009.
So he went from Real Madrid to Malaga to Manchester City.
Wow.
And he's coaching Real Betis to this day.
Okay. Wouldn't it have been easy for him to see, or maybe it would go against his formation, but like in his plan, but wouldn't it
might have been Juan de Ramos, because this was May 2009.
Mm-hmm.
He took over in June of 2009.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it was Juan de Ramos.
Who
also just had a 1-year stint.
Okay. 17 game streak's pretty good.
But that game decided the title.
Yeah, but when if they saw that false nine being played, wouldn't it have been? Would it be as simple as, oh, I will put a center defensive mid there, so that doesn't happen? But then would that mess something else up in their attacking connection? Or would that just be... Is it more complicated than that, do you think?
Well, you have to recognize that he's playing a false nine and not just playing central forward, and then you're wondering what Samuel Eto'o's doing, because he's normally there, now he's out on the right. And I know when they play the false nine, it's normally the wingers that are coming inside, making inside runs. So who stays and who goes? Do I follow Eto'o or do I follow Messi? I think it's just chaos, and you take advantage of it in the moment, and you might be able to look back and go, like, we just should have put him right here and man-marked him there. And
I guess so.
I mean, if they can't figure out in the moment, I don't think I could.
I don't know.
That's why I'm just pointing out, like, the quality that they had, and you're able to get over top of them on that day. You're expecting...
I mean, it was probably really well timed.
Right.
But in my mind, I'm just like, I just need a player there to anticipate that.
Well, I know what also happened because Barcelona would dominate the midfield is even when they would go to him, like then he's just playing midfield passes with Xavi and Iniesta and Busquets, and they can't get the ball off him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they don't go, so if they adjust, you go to him. Now there's space for the wingers to come inside because the center back's gone up, or there's a guy man marking, and they'll just pass through you with the 4 midfields.
Right, so like as a center defensive mid, that would eliminate your center backs coming out of shape, so that it just covers that middle.
But I don't
spot.
think that you win the ball off the 4 of them, and then that's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I would still want that player like, look, this guy is going to be trying to get the ball a lot. Just be arm's length away from him and just make sure the ball goes reverse and not through us.
It's Messi, man. It's 21. It's 21-year-old Messi.
I know. I'm trying to put it as rationally as I can. Just like if I was looking at this for the first time, be like, this can be easily solved like this or like this. Like, not to try and like trump like Pep's genius,
right? I get
just maybe
saying.
like, what if there was a simple idea and then all of a sudden the false 9 was never gonna be like an amazing thing, but yeah.
Well, that goes back to my point where I think it really worked because it's Messi who you put there, and then you go like, well, I'll put Frank Ribery here. No discredit to him, but like it's different.
It wasn't his spot.
It's different. Messi is just he can play all those positions.
Mm-hmm.
He's
the guy.
He almost plays a false right wing when he's out on the wing. All of a sudden, he's popping up in the midfield. He's popping in the middle. He's everywhere, walking around.
Right. Something that if you don't plan for that to happen, then yeah, it is difficult. Yeah.
Here's a player that you like,
Philipp Lahm.
Do you see Lahm's potential?
I fucking love Philipp Lahm, man. He's so great.
June 30th, 2013. So it's still preseason here. A table overflowing with buns, pastries, and drinks await them in the dressing room, and a few of the players immediately tuck into the chocolate tarts. That would be me.
Yep.
This is the second match in a row they have been treated to a similar spread, and Guardiola is taken aback. I'm surprised it didn't say he was scratching his head.
He should have.
With an hour and a quarter left before kickoff, he takes a minute to ask Kathleen Kruger, the team manager, why both TSV Regen and Weiden in their Opersvals felt it was appropriate to provide his players with pastries, and she reassured him that it was Bayern themselves who originally established the custom. So it doesn't immediately go into, countering that just yet, but he's like, I don't like this. I just thought that was interesting. It's a pretty short chapter, so I'm going to just kind of plow through it here.
Yeah.
So Bayern win their second friendly game 9-1. On the way home, Guardiola tells Sommer that we need a nutritionist. He doesn't want any more pastries for Pep. The players' diets, and in particular their post-match nutrition, are a vital component of their professional life and need to be closely controlled. His requirements are far from radical, but they are demanding. And, it's not radical anymore. Like,
no.
Arsene Wenger was a pivotal guy in changing the diets. And, all right, guys, we're not smoking cigarettes. We're not going to the pub. Like, come on, guys. Like, we need to...
This is England. What do you mean?
Right. Like, you got panelists that talk about their days of getting called up to the first team, and they were literally at the pub during the moment. Like, I got to go play, guys. See ya.
That would be wild. God.
Sommer wastes no time in carrying out Pep's wishes, and within a week, leading nutritionist Mona Nemmer will join the Munich expedition in Trentino. There will be no more buns for Bayern.
Yeah.
But another thing that happens, though, on the same bus journey home, Pep's mind is wandering, as it always does. He's thinking about Lahm. The conversation between Guardiola and Dominic Torrent, his assistant coach, who was sitting beside him, lasts the whole journey. It focused on one subject. Do you see Lahm's potential? Have you seen how well he anticipates the next pass? Have you seen how he turns and protects the ball? He can play on the wing or in the middle of the field. It is clear that he has just made one of the season's biggest discoveries.
The evergreen captain of Bayern and Germany. He just breathed new life into that game for Pep. And I mean, obviously it was a 9-1 victory, but it's still going into like just Pep putting in players to see what happens, like just who's gonna be that six, who might own it better than somebody else, who might own it over a anticipating shining new diamond, and it's actually one of the I guess veterans at that point.
Yeah, sure. He's been through it. Chapter 8. Thiago's coming. July 6, 2013. Guardiola's unexpected offer changes all my plans. Now, this is about, like the other chapter, we don't get into quite the title just yet. This is about the author. How we got this book. Why this book is 400 some pages about one season when we just read a book about Klopp with a little less pages and it was his whole career in life. His unexpected offer changes all my plans. Free access means that I will be privy to everything that goes on. I'll be able to observe his coaching methods up close and witness the decision-making and planning process as it happens. Essentially, I will be spending months at the heart of this elite team with complete access to an enormous amount of internal information. Not even my wildest dreams could I have imagined that the champions of Europe and the most successful coach of the decade would grant me such a privilege. Pep asked for only one thing in return: my total discretion during that season. Which I'm sure he does because he wrote another book about Pep. So I'm sure holding up that end of the bargain played out dividends for later. But he goes a little bit talking just about, I'm a journalist, so it was really hard for me not to report on stuff. But
I'm sure
it's what led to the book. So the doors of the Arcos Stadium are closed for the training session today. So this is now they're not letting people in.
Saturday, July 6th.
It has been 2 days since Bayern arrived at Trentino, and Guardiola has used their rest time this morning to show his players a video about pressing the opposition. They are images taken from the first 7 training sessions, and the coach explains to his men that he doesn't want long runs. He doesn't want to see Ribéry and Robben running 80 meters in every game.
Wish they could.
Yeah, as they attack the opposition defense. Pep wants attacking runs that last 4 seconds at peak performance.
Yeah. Do you mind if I take over real quick?
Yes, sir.
I
don't mind.
The afternoon training session focuses on pressing too. The defenders and one midfielder start things off, working together at the back, and the forwards try to get the ball from them using fast, aggressive pressing. Neuer's skilled footwork stands out, and Mandzukic's Edo-style aggression also impresses. The coach shouts his instructions to his players as he directs their efforts. It's 4-second pressing only. I don't want to see Ribéry chasing his winger the length of the pitch. He needs to make it into the center and stay put. What I need is for them all to press together for just a few seconds. That's why that way they'll get the ball back high up the pitch. At the end of the session, Pep sits down on the bench in the heat of the afternoon and shares his ideas. We need intense, precise work. If all we were interested in was one-on-one man marking, all this effort wouldn't be necessary. I could just sit back and that would be enough. But we are aiming at a very specific style of play and must therefore work extremely hard to perfect every single move. There is no middle ground. If the players want to play his brand of football, they will have to give it all they've got. We have to train with the maximum intensity. It's just like the rondos. You do them with 100% effort or you don't do them at all. If the players don't like them, then they're welcome to go mountain running. But in that case, we'll never achieve our potential. That last sentence was, for me, very good. Just because, like, Pep sees the potential and it's just like, we have to reach that. But if we only go mountain running, we're not going to get there. Even though mountain running 5 miles up, 5 miles down is pretty classic, it's just not what's going to cut it for Pep because there are different ideas about what's happening.
Dude, I just keep going in this one. Zonal defending rather than man marking, 4-second pressing with the nearest player in position to press the man who's about to receive the ball, moving calmly in the middle to create and use space, working in a coordinated way. Pep breaks down his fundamental ideas about the game. Like, Pep's telling the author about this.
Yeah.
This team just needs to slow down a bit. They've already got everything else down pat. They need some deceleration in the center of the field. Nora makes a clean pass and they move together to penetrate deeper. Completely coordinated. I want intricate passing as they move forward. Not too fast initially, so that none of our men ends up in the wrong place. A highly organized advance until they reach the center, and then boom, we trample them underfoot. Kind of sounds how he explained how he plays. Kroos possesses this ability to slow down, as do Schweinsteiger and Götze, and Thiago. Thiago's coming, Pep tells me.
By the way.
I have to ask him several times, which Thiago? Thiago Alcantara? Thiago from Barca? Are you talking about the pearl of the Barca youth system? Yes, that Thiago, he replies. So there's a whole thing with they're selling Mario Gomez, and that needs to go through for this deal to go through, and that takes some time, but
it leaves a space for Thiago.
Mario Gomez is just an exceptional professional, and he's training hard no matter if he's leaving or not. But he does go the deals go through, so all that comes together. And I just go to the last paragraph of this chapter. He's talking with Stefano, a guy taking care of the Arco Stadium that they're at. Stefano knows a lot about nature locally, as well as the culture and geography of the area. He also has a nose for football. Guardiola is the third Bayern coach I have known in 4 years. Van Gaal directed with his eyes, with facial expressions and silence. Heinix was a coach who moved a bit more and gave few instructions to his players. But Guardiola, he's a whirlwind of energy, a volcano.
Yes, he is.
We're on the final stretch here.
The idea is to dominate the ball, chapter 9.
I start off here with Dominic Torrent on the next page here.
I have so much for this chapter.
Yeah. Pep is off to a flying start and is more motivated than ever. I keep telling him that we have to go piano, though. We don't want to overwhelm the players with too many new concepts. These guys are switched on tactically, and they have welcomed our training module with which involves a lot of ball work and no continuous running, but we have to take into account that all of this is like a whole new language to them, which you had foreshadowed a bit there about teaching a language. For him, the core idea is the essence of the team and its coach, more than a single concept. It is the synthesis between a particular belief system and a group's stated mission. It can be summed up in the phrase often used in Pep's playing days by Johan Cruyff, the man who has been like a father figure to him in the course of his career. The idea is to dominate the ball, but we have to. How do we articulate that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any notes? Since you said you had a lot, I'll check with you before I move on.
Yeah, just on the first page, 54. It just goes back to Pep and Dominic going over the sessions that they had over the 4-second pressing exercises, and how they both like choose to review them separately and not together. I think I think Dominic says, I prefer watching it without Pep so that I can make my own evaluation and then swap notes with him later. And he shares his own take on his boss's first few weeks at Bayern. And that's where you went into the piano thing. But just kind of how like that is kind of a rule of thumb that's kind of, it's almost an unspoken rule of thumb that maybe it's not a rule of thumb because people forget about it sometimes, but when I coach, I would love to have that relationship with an assistant coach that is just like, we're both going to start off with our own evaluation of what happened, and then we're going to go into what you saw, what I saw, and then go from there. Yeah. Whatever comes up, just like I feel like that's just more like it's more about sharing and less like this is what I saw, this is what we need to do, yada yada yada, like one guy only deciding everything. It's more of like a cohesion of like what they both saw separately, and I think that was great. I just love that relationship that they have. And just how Pep has all of these people on his team that he doesn't want to be in control of how they think or what they do, because he relies on how they think and what they do. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he has a nice balance of being an obsessed maniac, but he wants free thinker, like,
but not over people.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just about. We need to be obsessed about the ball and like keeping it like that needs to be perfection.
Right, yeah.
But he understands to get perfection, like I need people like who can tell it to me straight and smart. Yeah. You know, like I need these people. I need them to get this result, not just I need control to get perfection.
He needs their honesty, I guess.
To Guardiola, his job at Bayern Munich presents a far greater challenge than those he encountered at Barca. There is a simple explanation for this. At Barca, the language of the game is taught from a very young age. Thousands of children pass through La Masia, the club's youth academy, where they are taught the Barca language as defined by Johan Cruyff more than 25 years ago, and implemented by a series of great... Let me reread that. Where they are taught the Barca language as defined by Johan Cruyff more than 25 years ago and implemented by a series of great... It should be a series.
It might be a mistype.
Yeah. Come on, man. Implemented by a series of great coaches since then. But I imagine those coaches are serious too.
Right.
They learn the specific details of this unique and precise language. By the end, they will have mastered this particular brand of football, so by the time a player has made it into the first team, he will have accumulated more than 10,000 hours of practice and training in the single playing model. As such, he has become a fluent speaker of the language. And I'm pretty sure there's like I don't know if it's a proven science, but like you want to master anything, it's like 10,000 hours is the number.
Yeah, they probably took that into account then, because that's a pretty specific number. It's not like, 9,899 hours.
Right.
It's like 10,000 hour rule of law.
Yeah. I know the talk about that just goes into like natural talent plays a part into things, but like don't say you can't do something. Like you can't master something. Did you put 10,000 hours into it and then get to the point where you realize you can't? Normally that doesn't go that way.
So
if you've gotten to the point of putting 10,000 hours into it, You've done it.
I want to calculate how many weeks and days 10,000 hours is.
Okay. Well, I remember... Man, that's not even scratching the surface. I remember, like, back in the day when I gamed way too much. I think, like, a Call of Duty would come out, and by the time the next one comes out, if we were playing crazily, we'd rack up maybe, like, 20 days worth of playing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only 480 hours. So that's like not even a tenth of the way to becoming a master.
It's just over a year. 1.142 calendar years. 10,000 hours.
There you go. Put in the time, kids.
I almost did that learning German.
Yeah.
Shit. I spent a year there.
Yeah.
If I would have just went over a little bit more, probably would have done it.
I am struck and rather surprised by the way the players interact with Guardiola. This is the author speaking. I don't sense any of the usual hierarchical barriers between players and coach. This morning, with the sound of a bird song in the air, the coach seems just like another one of the lads. Boateng and Alaba go out on the terrace to share a joke with him. Schweinsteiger interrupts and sits with him for a while as he says his goodbyes. He's going back to Munich along with Dr. Heinz Wilhelm. He's got his whole... I'm not even going to say the rest of the guys. Is that another name, or is that his whole name?
That's his
Dr. Hans
name.
William Müller Wohlfahrt.
Yeah, Dr. Hans Wilhelm Müller Wohlfahrt. Yep, that's it. That's the whole name.
Dr.
That's one
Hans.
guy.
It's Dr. Hans. But, he has that shtick of being this obsessive guy, but he was a player.
Mm-hmm,
So
yeah.
I think that helps connect with people. And
Oh, yeah.
it's good to see that he can be just a bro.
Yeah, for sure. And you and I have experienced that with the teams that we've coached too, and some of those players. Like, you need to have that simple, down-to-earth connection of just being people.
Yeah. Yeah, plenty of inappropriate jokes shared with me from high school boys that I can't help but crack a smile when they would get off that like I was laughing at what they had said.
Yeah.
And so like maybe that was a good thing, it's just like
It was.
Well, it's just we're not trying to encourage some of the things that were said, but like yeah, they're like coach is laughing. Like can't
That means it's all right.
That means it's all right. I'm like, damn it. Do you have anything from 56? I was gonna. I only have the middle paragraph of 57.
Yeah, just that I underlined that Guardiola was saying, I don't sense any of the usual, or maybe it's the author saying this.
Yeah, it's the author.
I don't sense any of the usual hierarchical barriers between players and coach. And yeah, we went over that, and just the last thing in this paragraph with how long it's taking Bastian Schweinsteiger to recover, and this worries Pep. He wants Basti, which is short, Bastian Schweinsteiger's nickname. He wants Basti to play a key role in implementing his playing model. He sends the player off with good wishes for a speedy recovery. We need you, Basti. We need you. We need you, Ang. We need you. Well, he wasn't exactly the Avatar, but that was just a nice little parallel there. The last paragraph on 57, I have stuff. I don't know about you.
I'll read what I have. I have the one above it. Robin will be one of the surprises of the year. Guardiola's appointment had barely been confirmed in January 2013 when people began to question whether the new coach would want to keep the Dutch player on. The doubts persisted even after Robin scored the goals which were so decisive in the club's Champions League victory. But the player's attitude on his arrival in Trentino has been just right of the man responsible for the winning goal at Wembley, has approached his work with all of the hunger of a youngster desperate to win a place in the team. Robin will continue to apply this same work ethic in the process, earning the support and admiration of his coach. So I'm guessing you go on. When I spoke to Robin, he explained, I started the season with an open mind and was very happy to try new ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just to continue after that, maintaining an open mind is essential for anyone hoping to learn this new footballing language. Pep's players are quick to demonstrate that this is one quality they all share. If the boss has gone to the effort of mastering German, the least his players can do is learn the language of the man from San Pedro. The players' initial unfamiliarity with the rondos, the Kreisspiele, soon changes to positive enthusiasm. Toni Kroos, who is delighted with the new regime, is sure that the ball will become a good friend to him. The ball moves fast, explains Daniel Van Boyten, and that means we have to play and think just as fast, which is pretty, that's something we need to be teaching 9-year-olds when they play soccer. If the ball moves fast, and it moves faster than players, that means we have to be thinking about what we're doing when the ball gets to where it's going. Do we need to move there? Do we need to sport there? What do we need to do? Where should I be?
Lorenzo Buenaventura. It isn't the same as speaking to Xavi or Iniesta, who has spent 20 years at Barcelona. They learned all of this there and have put it into practice 1,000 times. It's another thing entirely to do it here with any speed. Pep always starts well. He goes slowly at the beginning as he explains A, B, and C. But then there will be this sudden acceleration when you at least expect it, and before you know it, he's on Z, and he's revising the entire alphabet. In reality, you can't expect super quick results from this kind of immersion. Outside on the spacious terrace, Pep's ears must be burning because, despite the birdsong, he seems aware of everything we're saying. He comes in and joins the conversation, waving his hands about animatedly. That's all well and good, but if we lose 2 consecutive games, everyone will say it's because of the rondos training we're doing instead of spending the preseason doing 1,000-meter runs or sprinting up the mountains. He laughs as he gives Buenaventura a friendly shove. The players won't say it, and people like Toni Kroos will insist that he loves training with the ball, but there's no doubt that if we start losing, some journalists will blame it on the way we train.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely true.
That happened with Jurgen Klopp. Even at Liverpool, where some bad results or an injury, it's like, yeah, he's killing the players. They can't stay healthy.
Nope.
It must be
conditioning.
His methods must be terrible. Proceeds to win Champions League
it's just that at the beginning of the season, they're already asking him like, so do you see yourself winning the Premier League title? I'm just like, no, of course not.
Right. Like,
how can you ask these questions?
Right, just like relax.
Maybe you can. To England.
It's one thing if you ask Pep that because you've inherited that squad. Jurgen at Liverpool didn't inherit a squad that won a trophy.
Yeah,
there was
not recently.
There was no trophies recently at Liverpool when he came, so it's not like he had to. The squad changed a bit before a title was delivered. But you have a treble-winning team, so maybe you could ask, hey, you think you're going to win? Mm-hmm. Not as dumb of a question, but still, it's like, hey, I just threw out the system that they won on, so like we might need we might need some time.
Yeah. It makes sense. And when journalists ask these kinds of questions, like, are they really thinking about what they're asking? Maybe they're just trying to get some sort of response, but it's all toxic.
It goes into a little bit of nutrition again, and we got to eat well. And
I have a part on 59.
Yeah, if you got anything on that, I just went on to the end, so the floor is yours.
I mean, Guardiola's request for a boost in like player nutrition has really come to fruition. Just how Mona Nemmer has joined the Bayern team as the nutritionist, and then chef Alfons Schubeck comes in and starts really thinking about like their recovery through food and nutrition. Buenaventura agrees that this is vitally important. Like all big teams, Bayern plays a game every 3 days, and that affects the way we prepare. Medical studies in Italy have shown that the speed of post-match recovery depends entirely on the player's diet. If they eat properly, then they should have recovered 80% of the glycogen in their muscles within 3 days. Only 80%. Just imagine what it would be if they ate unhealthily. And after 4 consecutive matches in cycles of 3 days, the risk of injury increases by 60%. These are real stats. This is why you need to take care of yourself if you're, playing in any kind of level, I think. But
Coach, I was up all night playing Call of Duty and I'm on a Red Bull right now. No.
well, Jamie Vardy is an exception.
Yeah, sure. If you become Jamie Vardy, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, don't bank on it, that strat.
No. In order to cope with the demands of these 3-day cycles, players must be rotated. Playing so often means that the players never recover more than 80% of fitness. Injuries occur more frequently, and dips in performance are common. And after I read this, I really started thinking about like squads, like what they look like right now. And maybe that's a huge factor in why Chelsea have such a deep roster with how many players now? 42?
Dude, it's the biggest squad I've ever seen.
Right. And I'm just like, well, like if the game is becoming more demanding and they're playing at full capacity games more often within 1 week, that makes more sense to have a deeper roster, to have players to just get into the team and have more consistency. It's kind of like, I feel like it's a bit of a new idea. I don't know if they're even doing that on purpose, but that's kind of like, if I had recognized that that players are just being more injury prone because they're just playing 100% at games more often, well then the next step should be like, okay, like we can't keep demanding the same thing if they can only recover 80%,
right?
And then still demand 100. And then when they don't get the right recovery, they only get 60 back.
Yeah, I mean, especially the Premier League schedule is even worse than the German schedule.
But yeah, that was just like a big. My brain was just turning the wheels on.
Well, yeah, they bring that up again, like how it's different in Germany here to finish off the chapter. In Bayern, life is likely to be less demanding. The fact that there is no tour of Asia in the summer is already a blessing. And this preseason training gives us a real advantage because we have a series of complete 5-day periods during which we can work without interruption. In those 5-day slots, we do 6 or 7 training sessions. But without the usual physical exertion later in the year, we also have a very welcome winter break. Over the next few months, Buenaventura will talk at length about the benefits of the winter break, but today he simply says having 14 days of rest at Christmas and 2 weeks of prep afterwards is a huge competitive advantage. Guardiola and Turin compare notes as the morning draws to a close, after each of them has fully reviewed yesterday's training exercises. Out of the shores of Lake Garda, the birds are still singing as the coach's thoughts turn to Schweinsteiger's ankle problems whilst the player himself wins his home in Munich. Which brings to a close here.
Yeah, caught up.
I'm going to play a little clip here. Who knows who's still here, but I just do it for myself. This is a retired coach now who's now a panelist for college football. Nick Saban, longtime Alabama coach, a guy who's created a way of playing, and a guy I could see Pep's like demand for perfection, and even in you're up 60-0, if you're up 10-0 in soccer and a Guardiola goalkeeper kicks it long, he's gonna flip out. Like, we have to keep the ball.
It's not part of the plan.
But this is about like keeping your focus and stuff like that.
This time of the season, if you're undefeated, and we were a few times, I'd always give a nothing speech. And I'd walk up in front of the players and I would say, if you wake up in the morning and you feel entitled, what would that get you? Nothing. If you think somebody owes you something, what would you get? Nothing. If you lose your discipline and your work ethic, what would that get you? Nothing. If you fail to prepare and pay attention to detail, what would that get you? Nothing. Nothing is more important than staying focused on being the best you can be no matter what you choose to do. That would be my speech to all these 6
week. Are you on TV?
And that's all about. He's a guy who coached a team who was challenging for the title in college every year.
Mm-hmm.
And you got players who, how do you keep them going? They're ranked number 1 all year, and it's like, you got to keep them focused. You're winning Bundesliga after Bundesliga, Premier League after Premier League. How do you keep the hunger going? And it's coaching like that, or whatever your style of getting people to stay focused on the task at hand and doing the
concentration.
Yeah, the concentration and doing the intangibles day in and day out. But you also have to be a leader of men to be able to do that. I'm going to play one more NFL football thing of this is a new coach to me. I'm calling him the Jurgen Klopp of the NFL here. But he's, you also have to gain trust here.
Man, if you don't work on tackling, if we don't work on run after catch, making a move, man, what are we doing, man? Then we finally get to week 8 and we come to life because we got enough reps. That's what I'm doing, and I swear, man, I don't want to put anybody in jeopardy, but we have to do it, man. I believe it. We're not going to do it every day. I'm going to give you an illustration tonight. Man, I got a plan, I swear to you. All I think about is you guys. That's all I think about, man. That's all I think about is you guys and how I set you up for the best possible advantage I can give you to have a season. I swear to you, man. I just need you to trust me. That's all. Please. Listen.
Damn, that's emotional.
Yeah, dude, it fires me up. But it's about like,
boy,
why are we out here in pads and we're hitting each other already?
I'm ready to play.
Because the thing that's actually gone away in NFL, from what I've been reading up on, is more like the getting ready for the season and doing less work in pads. Because the argument is about safety, but he's going counter that, going like, the more work we put into this, it's not going to jeopardize us. Obviously, there's a risk in playing that sport in general.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a coach that took over that the Lions had it's a losing dogma. He's taken over. They're now winning games. They're dominating teams like comfortably because they're putting in the reps in the preseason. So what he was saying is, we don't come into our own week 8, like, we will have the reps ready to go beforehand. And
so when did they start?
NFL's been going. It's like
like their preseason.
Oh, I think there's like a preseason of like 4 games, and then there's a spring training camp.
So do they like do more than that, or like what do you mean?
It's whether you do the practice and you're hitting each other, or you're doing like walkthroughs. You can learn the playbook without actually like hitting and working on tackling,
I see.
Which is where people can be like, man, I don't want to be out here tackling. It's not even the game, but. That was the old school way of doing it, and the new school is to do a little less of that and more just like know the plays, but like they're doing,
because the physicality is already kind of there.
But they're working on the physicality, putting in those kinds of reps, and it's showing, and they're just dominating teams, and they got players that are bought into this guy who took over a team that just was the only team to ever go 0-16 in the NFL.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure he was a part of that team. He played for Detroit, and he takes over the team, and he's going like, my team's going to be, no matter how many times you hit us, like, we're going to get back up. You hit me once, I'm going to get back up, and then I'm going to take a swipe at your shins, and you're going to take up, and then we're going to bite at your kneecaps. And just like, they're all over the media, just like laughing at this guy's like crazy like introduction as coach, and just immediately he's got a culture behind him, and they trust him, and they're winning. And
I feel like a team like the Lions needed somebody like that too. Like, I feel like that's the only coach that is will and is like gonna bring them out of that dogma, like you said. Just like,
well, he has done it. They made it to the championship game last year, and they didn't make it, sadly. But like, dude, I want them to win a Super Bowl so bad, because like, it's the coaching that's like, this guy
bringing it
completely is just all about the players. He's built this culture.
Right.
It's that kind of guy that, if you're a Tottenham fan, you better pray you find somebody who can actually like get to players like that, because
break the juju.
Because Detroit doesn't have like a winning like culture, and if you don't have a winning culture, unless you got a guy who's going to completely tear down what's there and build it up in his image, and you let him do it. Yeah, because like, I sent you like, Tottenham just lost to Ipswich Town.
Yeah. That was.
It's gotta be the front office's fault. Like, Mourinho, Conte, Pochettino. I don't remember how to say this guy's new name. The new coach now.
I don't even know who it is.
But like, names have come through there and found some success, but eventually they have to move on, because it's gotta be coming from the club. Like, you can't just
Pochettino
ignore like what Brighton is doing, what Aston Villa is doing. Like,
yeah,
you've had time and money. So what are they doing to prevent a winning culture, like in the team?
What spot on the table are they?
Tottenham?
Yeah.
They're not in the top 4, I can tell you that.
No, yet. I think it's about mid. I was watching highlights of them play.
They're in 10th.
Yeah.
Aston Villa is above them. Newcastle's above them. Fulham is above them. Brighton is above them. Nottingham Forest is above them. And then you got Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Liverpool. The top dogs.
Once again.
Brentford's tied with them. Bournemouth is a point behind them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I think the quality, the potential is there. I think they have like pretty decent players too. It definitely has to be maybe like a similar problem with United, with just the front of office kind of problems, I guess. And I mean,
or just surrendering power to somebody who believes in the sport and wants to build something. Like, right. That's like when Sir Alex Ferguson was there. Like, you just knew like what was expected of you. It's why the remnants of Sir Alex Ferguson yeah, the remnants of his players that stayed on till coaches afterwards couldn't mesh with like the new up and coming youngsters who these guys were still like, I remember the locker room when Ferguson was here, and like how, dude, we're trying to win championships. There's no time for fooling around. And then you got, I don't know how the spat goes, but like, then you have Jesse Lingard and Pogba are like dancing, they're like mid-table and that kind of stuff. But it's just like, it doesn't mesh anymore. But there's not the guy at the helm demanding this from everybody. Now it's like half the players who remember that and half the new players. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way, but once there's a guy that's not making that atmosphere anymore, like, there's just like, what are we about? We've lost it.
Well, it's kind of like a similar phase with Arsene Wenger leaving Arsenal. You know, Arsenal were kind of wavering after he left.
That's true.
And, you know, they had quite a few Arteta came along a little later, but he, they found their guy, and I have a good feeling about the new coach that United just got from Sporting in Portugal. I forget his name already, but
right, yeah,
I think he's gonna be that coach that kind of like revamps just kind of what's going on and builds the culture, gets the players behind him and want to follow. Because it is a slump. Maybe he'll also just change. Well, maybe it's not even the players that aren't following. It's just like maybe it's again like the front of house like problems. Maybe he needs to get in there and just get all the guts out and just be like, all right, this is what we're about now, or this is what this club needs to be with all the history and the success. Like,
right.
I don't know. It is a really famous club. People always say they're the Yankees of the soccer world in England, and just like, I don't know. Maybe that stuff isn't supposed to last forever. I don't know, man. Other teams come in and do better, like Manchester City.
Yeah. I don't know. I just go back to when Conte just like calls out everybody. And it's just like, oh, he's crazy, and then it's like, oh, well, he's probably right.
Yeah.
He's like, this club's a joke.
I forget about his little stint there.
And now he's at Napoli and they're in first place.
Maybe he knows what he's doing.
Right, maybe he knows what he's doing. And when he's at Chelsea, he wins some titles.
He did. Even for a short time.
Like when he's at Juventus, he was running a little mini empire there for a little bit. They were winning Scudetto after Scudetto, and it passed to Allegri, and it wasn't just him who won all the Scudettos, but he definitely knows what he's doing. And I know he's had crazy moments, but like that was like the most he's ever called out an organization. Just was the one guy who's not afraid to say it.
Yeah. It's got to be spoken about, and I don't know, maybe coaches are afraid of something.
I feel you're so close. Like, what prevents you from taking the next step to like be a dominant club when you're right at the cusp of it, and like what?
I feel like that's a question for somebody who's been in there.
Because even if you make fun of Napoli, because like they're not always at the upper echelon. But they float around and then strike hot and maybe come back. Like Tottenham just floats, sinks, floats, sinks.
This question goes out to Jurgen Klopp. What does it take?
Right.
What does it take for a club like Tottenham to just kind of like...
Or like if you took over Tottenham, what kind of things... Or Liverpool, like what could have been done by the front office to like prevent you from having success? Like what obstacles, like you get in there, like what prevented Conte, what prevented Mourinho, what prevented Pochettino? I mean, he unlocked as most as he got. They got to a Champions League final. And then they're like, we won, you're out. So it's like, what do you do? We have Luka Modric and Gareth Bale, and then we don't even make to the top four.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't like Tottenham, so it's okay. But
yeah,
at the same time, you care about the football cultures of other places. So.
Right. And Liverpool were teetering and not really doing anything. And then, boom, were able to get back into being a dominant team with high the market value. And I think you got a new ownership, man. I think the same thing is happening to the Cowboys. But you know what I don't really see in the NFL is the Tottenham fans surely aren't doing it, but some teams, the fans are going to like start boycotting, they will let you know that it's not good and like, we need this guy. You need to get rid of the director of football.
Maybe,
like, we're not
maybe
happy.
it's already happening and we just don't know that it is.
Right. But like, you at least see that in the soccer world of like the fans telling the club like, no, we're not dealing with you guys anymore, or like, you're not selling tickets. The Cowboys have been bad for so long and gotten good, but always fall short. And the owner he does everything. He's like the director, he's the GM.
Oh, wow.
And the fans just buy into the Kool-Aid of next year will be the year. Like,
Because he's promising this with doing
it's
all
not
of
even that
these
he's like
things?
swindling people, but he just would say, I'm not going to step down. Like, but you guys continue to buy the season tickets. You guys continue to buy the jerseys when they get this new mediocre quarterback to be the franchise guy. Like, you support it. Like, demand something. Like, hold the feet to the fire and be like, you need to hire a guy who's going to come Bill Belichick this organization and like take control and build this culture. Like, why we won in the 80s. Like, there wasn't one guy who was the owner controlling it. Like, he bought it after they had success. And he's just doing all the jobs. And clearly, if it was a guy doing it who was hired, he would have been fired by now. But because you're the owner, you could just do it forever for 20 years and win nothing. And there's no repercussions. And there's no repercussions because they still make the most money and they still get the TV deal. Like, they're the most watched. Stop watching them. Stop buying the season tickets. Remember, like, when Klopp was like calling people up to be like, hey, hey, like, keep the season tickets.
True,
like, we're gonna start playing football that you're gonna like, and you know it's gonna be about you guys. And
But you felt it in your bones when, well, they felt it in their bones when they heard this from Jurgen Klopp over the phone.
Right. But it's just like he had to
So
keep
you
them.
need somebody like that
But
who's
they
going
were
to tell you.
But they were rightfully gonna not do it.
Yeah.
And he no, you need to come back. But like, if you just sell mediocrity and you buy it, why would they change?
Right. Because they don't know it's mediocrity.
So that's why it's like Cowboys fans, you have no right to complain because you just keep watching the games. Like, it's one thing to, like, I get it, be a loyal fan, but like the outrage directed to your team needs to be known.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to buy the next star you buy's jersey.
Yeah.
We need to not, the season ticket holders need to be like, dude, like, we want to support the team, but you need to change because we're spending this money on you just being a terrible steward of this thing.
That's also, like, just to pivot in how, like, the Bundesliga teams work with, like, them being fan owned. Like,
right,
it's
that's so awesome.
It's just like they're gonna know, like, the clubs are immediately gonna know if, like, what the fans are feeling.
Right.
Like, that's what I love about that. And I mean, like, RB Leipzig is, you know, we've gone over this
right.
with, like, the 50+1 rule with how they are owned by Red Bull, but they've kind of like discreetly, like, got past the rules.
Sure.
Well, had, like, own it, but and you know they get a lot of hate for that. However, I had a very good conversation over a liter of beer with my Bavarian friend Norman Clare on Friday night, and he was explaining to me why Jurgen Klopp might have chose Leipzig over some other clubs that may have been better choices, or clubs he had been at previously. And he was just telling me about how the Red Bull team, the soccer teams owned by them, like in New York, Leipzig, and the original one in Salzburg, yeah, in Austria, and I think they have one in South America too. I don't remember.
Probably.
But he was telling me how how it's a corporation that owned it, but with a corporation or a company that has so much money, hasn't been really abusing it, like buying all these like real expensive players to win the league. They have a really good development system in place,
right,
so that you have players like Haaland who have come from this team. And I wish I had a list of players, but there have been multiple examples of how Red Bull is really taking a huge consideration in how they are building what they own.
Right.
And my friend Norman had mentioned that Klopp, I think at the beginning of his Liverpool career, had referenced what they're doing. And he has the idea that Klopp had some sort of subconscious like thought about like, maybe like they have a good thing going on there.
Right.
And they probably reached out to him. That was probably one of many offers that he got, but I think they really sold it to him in the way that, Jurgen Klopp truly cares about what football is like for kids.
Right.
Whether it's through Bring the Noise or a few YouTube videos about some interviews he's had with English coaches about like how football really should be for kids and just how simple it needs to be for them, because the relationship with the sport matters over a lot of other things at that age when they're so young. So I think in Jurgen Klopp's defense, I think he saw something that a lot of people don't think about.
Ralph Ragnick had the job that he's doing.
Right.
So, like, they come from the same cloth pretty much.
Right.
But that was an interesting point. Like, they could have easily tried to do the Man City model of, like, just buy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just buy and buy and buy and buy. Like, we're not going to go into debt. But they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, people are buying their players.
Right. Exactly. And it's just like,
and then
holy shit.
They just keep discovering
right.
team players that are bought. And they're never buying crazy players.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, it's one thing if they were doing the evil organization thing and
like it's still a little weaselly that they got around that rule, but at the same time, it's not like poisonous.
Yeah,
they're actually helping to like create something better for like youth players, and that they're coming out.
Right,
they're coming out through the ranks, and they're selling them.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as Borussia Dortmund got Haaland, dude, Haaland just fucking took off, dude.
Right,
and
that's why Chelsea bought Nkunku.
Yep, exactly. That was the other one.
So, Openda's probably gonna make the move one of these days. He's had a great goal scoring career with Leipzig. Well, I guess there's a player that they bought. He played for Lens. Openda, and then he scored 28 goals for Leipzig in his debut season for them.
Wow.
But like, I don't know if it goes back that far. It doesn't have the stats. I imagine they didn't splash the cash for him. Like in this last transfer market, they bought, 24. Let's just say 50, 60. They spent like 80 million. And for a big club, that's not a lot.
Right.
And that's just for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 players. A couple of them were just loaning people.
Subtle.
So yeah, they're definitely not a evil organization like trying to buy all the Ronaldos and the Messis, and no. I don't even know if they maybe want a Pokel or something, if anything.
I think at least 1 or 2 times, maybe.
Right, but they haven't won the league. They haven't gone far in the Champions League.
They're doing well this year, though.
They're doing well.
I've been meaning to watch at least one game to see how they play, but yeah, just wanted to bring that up before we ended, just because I was like this conversation happened so recently,
Right.
and we were drinking beer, so I didn't want to forget. So I was like, yep, that was an incredibly like just nail on the head. I'm just like, holy moly, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Because Red Bull Red Bull is Red Bull, man. Like they're not only just affiliated with soccer. They have they're in video games, they're in rally races. Like it's just they're all over the place. So yeah, I'm glad that I can see them in that perspective now, because now that Jurgen Klopp's going there, who I admire a lot, it's just like, okay, like surely he's not turning evil, but like he sees something there.
Right.
So that was nice.
All right. I think that'll do it, man.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'm getting really tired.
If you're still here, thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.